Professor Nebel, in your opinion, why good governance is so important in the implementation of development projects?
Well, I think it's so important because you can't assume that in front of an intervention, the social stage on which you will work is an empty stage. It is in fact a stage where already existing power structures are standing, and any intervention on this stage will have to incorporate the dimension of the structure of power that are existing now on this social stage. So to ignore them is exactly to rush into some sort of failure, predicted failure. And this was indeed the case. Many interventions of the World Bank, of other international aid agencies failed on this topic of good governance. So I think it's definitely a very important dimension of development politics.
And which role should good governance play in the interventions of the international agencies in favor of the developing countries?
Well, I would change a little bit the question. Let's see. First of all, international agencies usually see after countries, and probably the main problem of governance today is not so much, there is a problem, but not so much local, say, country governance problem, where anyway some sort of governance is implemented, that global governance is lacking. And precisely, international agencies should also ask themselves in their own functioning if and what sort of governance they do employ. Is there, into the World Bank, on the international stage, some project for good governance? Well, I think this is probably the most important and urgent question.
In your opinion, is there a difference between the meaning given to good governance by international agencies and the approach assumed by developing countries?
Certainly not, yes. There is a difference, and a very important difference. Good governance for international agencies is usually linked to, at least unconsciously, to democracy. Even if they say this is not the case, but it is in fact. All the measures, World Bank Index of Good Governance show that there is a dimension of democratic ideal behind the notion of good governance they are implementing and measuring. And I would say that developing countries usually see good governance as a more open question, as something that is already existing into the country. There is some sort of governance in every country. No country could be ruled. There would not exist any sort of social order if there would not be some sort of governance already implemented. Now the question obviously is, what should we understand as good governance? And there is probably the possibility to find a common ground between pro-democratic governance agenda of international agencies and the good governance agenda of developing countries. This common ground, in my view, could be a common understanding of what is meant by social power and the good practice of social power.
Thank you very much, Professor Nebel.